with 40,000 in gold in our saddlebags and a long ride ahead.
Don't worry, I've never killed an unarmed man in my life.
John Ford only made one full-length Civil War film, and it broke him. The movie's based on a real raid from 1863. A Union colonel took 1,700 men and rode straight through Confederate territory for 17 days. They blew up railroad lines and supply depots the whole way. In the film, Wayne plays the colonel, a railroad engineer in civilian life, who only cares about the mission. William Holden plays a Union surgeon who keeps butting heads with Wayne because Holden wants to stop and save every wounded man, and Wayne wants to keep moving. On December 5th, 1958, they shot the climactic battle scene. A veteran stuntman named Fred Kennedy did a horsefall. Kennedy had been in 7 films with Wayne and worked with Ford for decades. He landed wrong and broke his neck. He died right there on set. Ford was devastated. He felt responsible for every man who worked under him, and now one of them was dead. He stopped filming immediately and moved the whole production back to Hollywood. The script had a triumphant ending. Wayne's forces were supposed to arrive victorious in Baton Rouge. Ford scrapped it. The film just ends with Wayne saying goodbye and a bridge explosion. Ford lost interest. He couldn't finish it properly. The movie flopped. Wayne and Holden had negotiated 20% of the profits, but there were no profits to share. This film has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. It invented the psychological Western. It directly inspired High Noon, Shane, and The Shootist. And for years, the studio blamed its failure on Gregory Peck's mustache. Peck plays Jimmy Ringo, a gunslinger famous for his quick draw. That reputation follows him everywhere. Young guys who want to make a name keep showing up to challenge him. All Ringo wants is to find his wife and kid and leave the violence behind, but he can't shake his past. Peck grew a thick handlebar mustache for the role. Not a fashionable thin one like Errol Flynn or Clark Gable wore, but a full, historically accurate one. Darryl Zanuck ran Fox, but he was out of the country during filming. He saw the mustache for the first time when he watched the finished film. He said, "I would give $50,000 of my own money if I could get that mustache off that guy. This man has a young following. Young girls like him. That mustache is going to kill it." He was right about one thing. The film made less than $2 million at the box office. But here's what happened after. The Gunfighter got nominated for an Oscar for Best Motion Picture Story. Peck was offered the lead in High Noon because of his work here, although he turned it down. And The Shootist, Wayne's final film in 1976, borrowed its plot openly, the aging gunfighter who can't escape his reputation. So there's not enough women out west. A guy named Roy Whitman decides to fix that by bringing a caravan of over 100 mail-order brides from Chicago to California. It's a brutal, dangerous journey across hostile territory. Whitman hires a hardened, cynical guide named Buck Wyatt to lead them. The idea came from Frank Capra. He read a magazine article about South American women who crossed Panama to become brides for settlers. Capra wanted to direct it himself with Gary Cooper, but Paramount passed. So Capra mentioned it to his neighbor, William Wellman, who pitched it to MGM. They turned it into one of the biggest Western productions of the 50s, hundreds of actors and extras, and then it disappeared. But the best part of the story happened 30 years later. In 1985, there was a village in Spain. Tiny place, over 40 single men and just one single woman. All the young women had moved to the cities and the village was basically dying. Then someone aired Westward the Women on television and the bachelors watched it. After that, they placed an ad in the newspaper, young women wanted, willing to relocate and marry. 33 marriages and the village came back to life. John Wayne bought this script, couldn't make it because he was busy with The Searchers, and passed it to Randolph Scott. Then he saw the finished film and kicked himself for the rest of his life. Ben Stride used to be a sheriff. He lost his job, so his wife took work at a Wells Fargo office. 7 men robbed that office and killed her. Now Stride hunts all 7 of them, one by one. He carries the guilt because he knows it's partly his fault. If he had kept his job, she never would have been there. Stride meets a married couple headed west for California and helps them out. Two drifters join them. They seem friendly, but they know about the robbery. They want Stride to do the hard work, find the bandits, then swoop in and take the money. But they're not the only ones with secrets. If Wayne had made this film, it would be a classic on the level of The Searchers. But he was busy, Scott took it, and Hollywood buried it. After Wayne died, his film company's library sat in limbo, and 7 Men from Now was basically a lost film for decades. Nobody could watch it even if they wanted to. Eventually a print surfaced, Paramount restored it, and people finally saw what Wayne had given away. It still holds 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Joel McCrea made a lot of famous films. Sullivan's Travels, Foreign Correspondent, Ride the High Country. But his personal favorite was a movie the studio considered throwaway filler shot in 12 days on a tiny budget. The film is Stars in My Crown. McCrea plays a Civil War veteran who arrives in a small Tennessee town, walks into a saloon, and delivers his first sermon at gunpoint. He marries the church organist, adopts an orphan, and over the years he deals with everything this town throws at him. A typhoid epidemic, a mining company that wants to steal a black sharecropper's land, and a Ku Klux Klan mob. It's like watching America condensed into 89 minutes. The movie disappeared over the years. People were expecting a gunslinging Joel McCrea and didn't get one. The studio had treated it as low priority from the start, just something to fill out a release schedule. Nobody thought about it much. But apparently, McCrea did. His grandson Wyatt told a story about growing up on the ranch. Joel kept a 16mm print of Stars in My Crown out there. Whenever it was raining outside or just a quiet summer evening, he would pull out the projector and show it to the family. Wyatt said he probably saw it a dozen times as a kid. James Stewart and Anthony Mann made 5 westerns together, 5 films that rank among the best the genre ever produced. And the 5th one, The Man from Laramie, destroyed their partnership completely. They got into some stupid fight during production and never spoke to each other again. The movie itself is basically King Lear set in New Mexico. Stewart plays a man who rides into a ranching town looking for whoever sold rifles to the Apaches that killed his brother. He runs into this ranching family, a blind patriarch and his sadistic son Dave, and what follows is one of the most brutal Stewart performances ever filmed. Dave drags him behind a horse, burns his wagons, shoots his mules. And in the film's most infamous scene, Dave shoots Stewart through the hand at point-blank range. But Stewart keeps coming back for more. It's arguably the best of the 5 Stewart Mann westerns, but it came out at the tail end of their collaboration and always gets overshadowed, even though it might be the most accomplished of the bunch. And it was the last thing Stewart and Mann ever made together. Whatever that fight was about, it ended one of the greatest partnerships in Western history. Kirk Douglas plays a marshal whose Cherokee wife gets assaulted and murdered by 2 young cowboys. He traces them to a town run by his old friend Craig Belden, played by Anthony Quinn. The murderer turns out to be Belden's son. Douglas tells Belden he's taking the kid back on the 9 o'clock train. Belden tells him he isn't. And the rest of the film is a ticking clock standoff. One man against an entire town with only a dance hall girl willing to help him. Douglas and Quinn actually couldn't stand each other in real life, but it doesn't show for a single frame. The tension between their characters, 2 old friends who know they're about to destroy each other, plays as pure acting. You'd never guess they wanted to kill each other for real. The film got buried because it came out in 1959, same year as Rio Bravo. And then Sturgis, the same director, released The Magnificent Seven the following year. Gun Hill just got lost in the shuffle. People describe discovering it by accident on a Sunday afternoon and being stunned by how good it is. Anthony Perkins 2 years before Psycho, Henry Fonda, Lee Van Cleef is the villain. This one is another Anthony Mann Western with absolutely killer cast. Fonda plays a bounty hunter who rides into a small town with a dead outlaw draped over his horse. The townsfolk despise him. The young sheriff, played by Perkins, admires him. Fonda agrees to teach Perkins how to be a lawman. how to shoot, how to read a situation, how to stay alive. All the while, the town bully closes in on both of them. The screenplay got nominated for an Oscar, which almost never happens for a low-budget Western. It also got a BAFTA nomination for Best Film. Perkins and Fonda play off each other beautifully. Van Cleef is superb as always. The film works. But Mann himself wasn't satisfied. In an interview, he called it a fair film and said there was too much supervision during production. I really believe that in order to create a good film, one has to do it completely on one's own. Can you imagine wholesome Jimmy Stewart beating a man to death with his rifle and continuing to hit the body long after the man is clearly dead? That happens in this movie. Stewart plays a bounty hunter tracking Robert Ryan through the Colorado mountains. Ryan has a $5,000 price on his head, and Stewart needs that money to buy back the ranch he lost when his fiancée left him during the war and sold it out from under him. Stewart picks up two reluctant partners along the way, an old prospector and a dishonorably discharged cavalryman, and together they capture Ryan. The journey back to civilization becomes a psychological pressure cooker. Ryan is charming and manipulative, and he spends the whole film playing the three captors against each other. Anthony Mann shot almost every frame outdoors, and it looks incredible. But the film never got the recognition it deserved. It doesn't have the Magnificent Seven theme or a Sergio Leone showdown. It's just five people walking through rocks, arguing about money, and slowly losing their minds. When people think of a Jimmy Stewart Western, they think of The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. This one deserved way more than it got. This production fell apart completely. Robert Ryan plays a rancher in a tiny snowbound Wyoming town, locked in a feud with a homesteader over the homesteader's wife. Both men are about to draw on each other in the saloon when the door bursts open and Burl Ives' character staggers in. He's a dying cavalry captain leading a gang of rogue soldiers on the run from a bank robbery. The gang holds the entire town hostage, and the captain is the only thing keeping his men from killing everyone. The problem is he's bleeding out. The budget was $400,000, which the screenwriter said was nowhere near enough. The director was having personal problems during the shoot, and it showed. Ryan contracted pneumonia from the cold and was out for a full week. Snowstorms caused delays, and then the money ran out entirely, so they just packed up and went back to Hollywood. You can tell when you watch it. The location footage brought a lot of production value, but every time the action shifts from outside to inside, it starts to look cheap. The film got buried. But it stuck around anyway. You can see this movie's fingerprints all over McCabe and Mrs. Miller and The Hateful Eight. A film that ran out of money and got abandoned ended up influencing Altman and Tarantino.